Okay, so Abhiram, do you see a problem on board?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so try to work on this one. Siddharth, the ground is always assumed to be horizontal.
Okay.
Let me draw the situation so that you guys can understand. So I have the incline and a body is falling from, let's say, so this height is given as h, and it is hitting the incline at a height h above the ground, and then after hitting the incline the velocity becomes horizontal. Okay, so now it is going to come and then hit the ground here. Okay, so do you understand? Finally the body lands somewhere here, and then you are asked to find the maximum possible time, or sorry, for what value of the small h by capital H the body will take maximum time. What is the question, Siddharth?
What is fixed? Like,
What is fixed? Oh, okay. The value of capital H is assumed to be fixed. Okay, so the H is fixed. You can vary small h. Okay, so let us start discussing the problem here. See here, what we can do is I can split the journey into two parts. So let's say the particle is going from, the body is going from A to B and then B to C. Now we know from what we have been studying about projectile motion is that the time depends only on the vertical velocity, or you can say time depends on the vertical direction, because that's where you have acceleration. Abhiram, are you okay with this?
Yes.
The time depends on the vertical direction. So now vertically we can use delta y is equal to initial velocity v naught t plus half at square. Now if you look at this from A to B, when you consider A to B, the initial velocity is 0. When you consider B to C, also initial velocity is 0 vertically. So I don't have to worry about this. So the time will be simply square root of 2 times the displacement by acceleration. Okay. Now here clearly for both the parts the acceleration is g. So now what is the overall time? Let's say A to B, and then we have B to C. Now if I consider A to B, the displacement is h minus small h. So you have square root of 2 into small h minus h by acceleration is g. Now if I consider from B to C, it is square root of 2h by g. Okay. So now if I let's say take yeah,
take out square root of 2 by g.
what is that, Siddharth?
We can take out square root of 2 by g.
Square root of 2 by g. Acha, you are saying take this out. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. So now once
now,
yeah,
like we can multiply multiply and divide by 2, divide the square root of capital H minus H plus square root of H by 2.
Okay, so you are saying you divide by what? Divide by small square root of h? Square root of small
No,
h?
this divide by 2.
Which one?
The term in the brackets
The term in the bracket, just divide by 2. Okay,
and
so
multiply with it.
multiply by 2. Okay, so you want me to write it this way, right? Okay, then what are you
Then now
suggesting?
this will be
Uh-huh.
lesser than or equal to
Okay.
the bracket part will be lesser than or equal to their arithmetic mean H minus
Okay, so
as the square root of the
geometric mean you mean?
no
Uh-huh.
their quadratic mean.
Acha, so this is quadratic arithmetic mean.
No,
So what are you saying? Why would this be less than? So you're saying this is less than what?
2 square root of 2 by g.
1 second. I think I'm not following you. This will be smaller than.
Square root of h minus h plus h by 2.
Okay, so this constant will be there. Okay, which we can ignore later on. So square root of.
H minus h plus h by 2.
This is what you're saying.
Square root of the whole thing.
Square root of the whole thing. What property are you using here? Interesting.
AM RMS inequality.
AM.
RMS.
What is RM?
I remember it is QM also. Wait.
Achha, do you know anything about, let's say, AM is less than or equal to RM, you're saying, or you're saying it is QM?
Just a second.
Okay.
Root means square.
Acha, root means square. Okay, so AM is smaller than root means square. RMS, you are saying. Oh, interesting.
And equality if and only if h minus h is equal to h.
Equality only
If and only if h minus h is equal to h.
H minus H is equal to H. Oh, okay. Interesting. Good point. So this equality is only when H minus H is equal to H, you're saying. Okay, so from here, how did you conclude that? So from here, you can say that H by H is, H by capital H is half. Okay. Interesting. Good idea. So even I did not use this. Okay. So what I was thinking is, let's say if I write the time. Maybe it will turn out to be the same thing algebraically, but yeah, I think that's nice. So if I have this time, the popular choice is using calculus. Okay, the popular choice is using calculus. Abhiram, I think you recall calculus.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Till we did the 2 into root 2 by g times, and then like I followed up until that last step.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't.
I think Abhiram, what you can do.
Should I tell the inequality? What?
Siddharth, we'll do one thing. Siddharth. I think some of the algebraic concepts, Either I also forgot, or maybe I don't know. We will see. From this step onwards, Siddharth, we'll wait for some time. I mean, I'll give you some time to explain this again. Okay, Abhiram, you're okay till here? The red
Yeah,
border.
yeah, and yeah.
So
Yeah.
hear me out what I have to say, and then this is also nice what Siddharth is saying, but we will try to use the traditional approach. Let's say, see here, if one way is use calculus. Okay,
Or if you want to like maybe if we square the bracket part,
or maybe that could be easier algebraic.
but that is actually proving the inequality that I just stated.
Acha, acha, acha. Okay, but maybe we will get into details now, so that we all understand. So if a square, I get what h minus h. I understand. Okay, that it might be lengthy, but now if I do this,
And then AMGM.
maybe this is something that I also remember. Now, if I want t is maximum, obviously we are looking at a positive quantity. I don't mind t square being maximum, right? So, Abhiram, I think you might be knowing this, right? If AB are
Yeah.
positive numbers,
Yes.
AB are positive numbers, the AM of A and B, A plus B by 2 is greater than or equal to their GM.
Yeah.
You are okay with this, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is what we are planning to use. If you look at how we wrote T square. Okay, so T square is 2 by G into, luckily this minus H and then H disappears. So we have some constant plus I have this H minus H into H. So now here, if I apply this, the square root of H minus H into H will be smaller than or equal to H minus H plus H by 2. So we can say that our time will be maximum. T square is maximum. Okay, now when are they equal really?
And
A and B are equal. We write A plus B by 2 is equal to square root of AB only when A is equal to B.
Yeah.
So the extreme case is like H minus H is equal to H. So we get H by capital H as 1 by 2. So Siddharth, what you are saying is that this is what is more or less that.
What?
Look, whatever you wrote, AM is greater than or equal to root mean square.
Lesser than or equal to.
Lesser than or equal to. And this one, whatever we have done, is more or less the same thing.
It is proving that inequality.
Proving that inequality. Okay. So, I think let us not, maybe we will not get into too detailing here. Abhiram, are you okay with this?
Yeah. This. Yeah.
Sidhu, I think this should be fine, na? But Sidhu, one more thing. I think maybe you guys have to spend some time learning calculus. See, Abhiram, you understand how to maximize this function.
Yeah.
So if I take that function, I think for this function, probably algebraic method is much better, even though like it is done using calculus. But I actually favor the algebraic approach that we have taken. Algebra is much easier here. Okay, because AM is equal to GM only when those numbers A and B are equal. That means capital H minus small h is equal
Calculus, you mean Jensen inequality?
to calculus. No.
Jensen.
Calculus is like we are writing.
No, by calculus, you're including Jensen.
Sidhu, I also forgot all those Jensen inequalities. Calculus, I mean, if I write it as a function. Okay,
its
so
derivative 0.
yes, at maximum or minimum, its derivative is 0. So we are going to get the derivative here. So dy by dh is what we are trying to get. So if you look at this function, the derivative is 1 by 2 into square root of h minus h. And then we'll have to use a chain rule. And it will be derivative of h is minus 1. And then here it is 1 over 2 square root of h. And then this should be 0. Okay, now if this is 0, obviously you can again see that square root of h is actually square root of h minus h, which again tells us that h is equal to capital H minus h. So h, we will get it as half. So I think in this particular case, probably I favor algebraic method than calculus. Calculus is a little harder here because you need to know at least the derivative of square root of x. Oh, okay. So then this much calculus, you are also okay, Siddha. That is what you are saying. Oh, okay. So then I think we can start calculus-based problems also. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I thought you are not aware of these.
Just have to revise a bit.
Okay. Okay. And then, like I said, I will also send you guys a maybe a suggestion, book suggestion. That book is actually very nice. We can look at that later.
Yeah.
Abhiram, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, so try to answer this question. Guys, remember all two-dimensional motion problems, you can easily convert them into one-dimensional problems. Okay, so that is much better. So you split the two-dimensional problem into one-dimensional problem and then solve it. It becomes easier. Later on, when I teach you relative motion, you will have other idea. You will get other ideas which can simplify the problem. But right now, let's solve problems without using any relative motion ideas. Get the answer for the second one also. Then we'll start discussion. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, now if I look at the initial velocities, particle, let's say, projected from A, it has 10 meter per second. I'm not writing the units, so okay, so, and then this also has velocity 10. So if I split that into horizontal component, that is 10 cos 60. Cos 60 is half. So that is 5 meter per second horizontally. And the vertical velocity is 10 sine 60.
Are you drawing something?
Oh, yeah.
I started recording, but I did not start share. Oh, this is bad. Okay, TK. Guys, I did not do much. I said, okay, the particle projected from A has velocity 10. I'm not writing the units. I think units is understood meter per second. And the horizontal component of the particle projected from C is 10 cos 60, which is 5 meter per second. And in the vertical direction, it is 10 sine 60. So that is 5 root 3. Okay. Now, they will, let's say, move something like this and then let's say collide somewhere here. Now, if I take the vertical displacement of particle projected from A and the particle projected from C, okay, and if I take the difference of these vertical displacements, I should get the difference in the heights of the tower. I think that is understood, right? Okay, so now vertical displacement I can get vertically I think what we can do is this particle, let's call it as A, and the other particle, let's call it as C. So vertically, we can use delta y is equal to V naught t plus half AT square. So we can find the time using this equation. So for particle A, what is the vertical displacement? For particle A, the vertical displacement will be initial velocity is 0. So it is just half gt square. So I'm going to use g as 10. Okay. So for particle C, the vertical displacement is, but here it has initial velocity. So I will say 5 root 3 t, and then plus, oh, sorry, I need to use, yeah, I think plus is okay. Let us take downward direction as positive, so we can use plus. So half gt square 10 t square. Okay, so if I subtract, I should get the difference in the tower heights. So CD is 30 meters and then AB is 20 meters tall. So the difference in heights is 10. Okay, so from here we get the time taken for the collision as 10 by 5 root 3. Okay, so these guys will cancel out. So we get the time for collision is 2 by root 3 seconds. Okay. Now, once I get the time, I can use the horizontal direction. Horizontally, again, there are no forces. So the speeds or the velocities will remain as it is. So now the distance covered by A, okay, so the distance covered by A horizontally plus the distance covered by C horizontally, that should be our distance between the towers. Okay, so now what is the distance covered by A horizontally? Again, this is, I'm doing it horizontally. Okay, so distance covered by A will be the horizontal velocity into time taken, which is 2 by root 3, plus distance covered by C will be horizontal velocity, which is 5 into time taken, which is 2 by root 3. So what do we have here? I think this is 30 by root 3, and that is 10 root 3 meters. Very good. I'm really happy. So you guys got the correct answer. So A is done. Okay. Now once A is done, now let us move on to the second part. Find the position where the two objects hit the ground. Now, to understand that, we will have to understand after collision, will there be any horizontal velocity or not? Okay, so let's identify that using the linear, conservation of linear momentum. Okay, so let's see what is happening before collision, and we'll be able to understand what should happen after collision. Okay, so let's say before collision. Just before collision, the velocity of P horizontally is 10 meter per second. The mass of P is given as m. Now if I take Q, the mass is 2m and it has a horizontal velocity of 5 meter per second. So the initial linear momentum, if I calculate this, so the mass of particle P and then plus 10 plus mass of particle Q and then minus 10. Now this is clearly 0. So now because the linear momentum before collision is 0, linear momentum after collision is also 0. Okay, so after collision. So that means once these two particles stick to one another, there is no horizontal speed. So that means the particle is going to just drop from there as it is. You guys understand? Okay, so this is just going to drop like this. So that means all we have to do is, let's say if I'm trying to calculate from B, this is the distance I need to find. Now that distance is nothing but the distance traveled by A, okay, till the time of collision. So that means that is anyway here. You understand? That is the distance traveled by A. Okay. So the answer should be, where do they really hit? From B, they hit at a distance of 20 by root 3.
I sent the correct answer only. 10 by root 3 from D.
So you said from D.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Why did I did the same thing for Abhiram also. I'm so sorry, guys. Acha, you said from D. Oh, for Abhiram I did ulta, and then for you also I did ulta. I'm sorry, guys. I'm
Oh,
really
okay,
sorry.
okay, yeah.
I owe treat for both of you guys. Okay, eat chocolates in my name. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I think then you are okay. Oh, okay. For Abhiram, what I did is he said B, I took D, and then you said D, I
Yeah.
took B. Because now B is in my mind. For Abhiram, I made that mistake, so now B is in my mind.
Okay, and then you were.
Okay, funny. Yeah, but anyway, good. Okay, so try to work on this problem. So here, the two guns are at the same location. I hope you guys are okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think? The horizontal one should be fired first, or the one which is fired at an angle?
Angle should be fired first, right?
Siddharth, you're on mute.
The one at the angle.
Okay, the one at the angle or the one which was projected horizontally? Which one?
At angle.
Yeah.
Why do you
First.
say that?
Because horizontal velocity will be lesser.
Okay, Abhiram, you get that? See,
Yeah. I found that the time it takes to fall down, like go up and then fall down, will be longer than
yes.
the horizontal one.
Yes. So the one which is projected at an angle should be projected first for the
Yeah.
collision to occur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now here, I think you guys understood the fact that, let's say, because this is what is happening. So let's say that's the tower, which is 10-meter tall. And then one shot is fired horizontally. The other one is fired at an angle of 60 degrees. Now, because they're going to collide mid-air somewhere here, let's say, I think, okay, maybe I'm doing a little cheating, but okay. So they collide somewhere here, suppose. The horizontal displacement is same. Okay, so this horizontal displacement is same. And the question says that we'll have to take the foot of the tower as the origin. So this is X and this is Y. Now, because the horizontal displacement is same and horizontally you don't have any acceleration, it is just distance is equal to speed into time. The horizontal components, okay, should be same if the time is same. Okay, but we can clearly see that because they're fired with the same speed, 5 root 3 meter per second, the horizontal component of the, let's say, gunshot, uh, which is fired at an angle will be smaller. So that means obviously the one which is fired at an angle should be fired first. So I'm going to mark that as first particle. Okay, the other one I'll mark it as second particle. Is that okay, guys? The one which is fired at an angle, I treat it as first particle. Okay, now let us do one thing. If I say that at t equal to 0, gunshot 1 is fired. Okay, and at t equal to t1, I'll say gunshot 2 is fired, and let's say at t equal to t2 from the beginning. Okay, so the collision occurs, let's say. So I'm just defining this way. Now, horizontally, if I take a look at the first particle, let's get the components of the first particle. And I'm taking that gunshot as a particle, let's say. It has 5 root 3 at an angle of 60 degrees. So the horizontal component would be 5 root 3 into cos 60 degrees. Cos 60 is half, so we will get it as 5 root 3 by 2 meter per second. Now, what is the vertical component? Vertical component is 5 root 3 sine 60 degrees. So, which is 5 root 3 sine 60 is root 3 by 2. So, which is 15 by 2 meter per second. Okay. Now, if I pay attention only to the horizontal direction, okay, so horizontally, I can say their displacement is same, x is same, whether I consider the first particle or second particle. Now, if I take a look at the first particle, its horizontal speed is 5 root 3 by 2, and then it was in the air for t2 seconds. Okay, so if I take a look at the second particle, the horizontal velocity is 5 root 3. Okay, but it was fired after t1 seconds from the beginning. So it is in the air for t2 minus t1. Are you guys okay? Yeah, we will discuss Siddharth. Once this is done, I'll let you talk about it. So from here, if you see, I think we can get here, let's say, I think 5 root 3 I can cancel. So T2 is 2T2 minus 2T1, or we can say T2 is basically 2T1. So are you guys with me? Now, if I let's say T1 as maybe some T, because we want to find the time gap between in time interval between the firings. So that is our T1. Okay. So let's take that T1 as T. And then T2 becomes 2T. Are you guys with me? Okay. Now let us move to the vertical direction. Okay. So if you look at vertically what is happening, vertically they should attain the same displacement anyway. Okay. So I'll take upward direction as positive. Okay. Now vertically the displacement is same. So vertically the displacement is same. So delta y for the first particle, it has initial velocity. Okay. So what is the initial velocity? 15 by 2. And then how long is the first particle in the air? It is in the air for 2t seconds, and then plus half at square. Okay, so acceleration is minus 10, and then again it is in the air for 2t seconds, so 2t whole square. Now this is for particle, or let's say gunshot 1. Now if I look at the second one, there is no horizontal, so there is no vertical velocity, so that's 0. I'll simply write half at square, so minus 10, and then t square. Okay, so this is for second particle. Okay, guys, are you okay? What I have written here, the vertical displacement should be same. Siddharth, are you okay with this? Abhiram, are you okay with this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now here I have one equation with let's say time as the variable. So let me put this in the second page. So if I look at the first term, I think 2 I can cancel out. So I have 15t.
You have changed the page.
What is that?
Oh, okay.
No, this is PowerPoint. So yeah, so then I have what here? I think minus 5 into 4 t square. So that is minus 20t. This is equal to, then this is minus 5t square. Okay, sorry, this is t square as well. So we get 15t as 15t square. Now t equal to 0 is from the beginning. So that means our answer is t is equal to 1 second. So in 1 second, the collision happens. Now once we get this time, I think we are done. So x, I can substitute here. So t equal to 1 second. So that means t2 will be 2 seconds. So from here, the value of x coordinate will be t2 is 2 seconds. So the x coordinate will be 5 root 3 meters. Then I can use this to get the y coordinate. Okay, so guys, are you able to see? So the delta y will be minus 5 t is, so delta y is minus 5. So that means from the ground up, that is 5 meters. So the coordinates will be 5 root 3 and 5 meters. Okay, guys, any questions?
No.
Abhiram, questions? Siddharth, is your method very different from this, or like?
Not very. I took the equations of the parabola.
Acha, you took the equations of the parabola. Okay. Okay. But is it very different so that we should discuss?
Not much.
Not much. Okay. So then I think we will leave it maybe. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Again, before proceeding, do you guys have any questions? Abhiram? Okay. So let's move on. Okay. So try this one.
No.
Yeah.
I don't have.
Okay. So try this problem. Guys, both of you, are you guys familiar with a centripetal force idea? A force that acts towards the center of the circle?
And like, I just know such a thing is there.
Okay, so how about you, Abhiram? Are you familiar with centripetal force?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me talk about that briefly because you might need it to answer B part. Okay, so let's understand this. If a particle is moving around a circle,
Are you in a different page?
yes. Okay, now are you able
Not
to
on
see?
the same page.
Yes, same page. Okay, so if a particle is moving around a circle of radius r, suppose, okay. Now, even if the speed is constant, okay, even if the speed is constant, the velocity is obviously changing. I think, do you guys get that? So this particle is moving around a circle, so the velocity is obviously changing, right? So if the velocity is changing, you need acceleration. And then later on, I will teach you this in detail when we look at circular motion. So a particle moving around a circle, if there is a certain amount of speed, you have to have some force acting towards the center of the circle. So that's the centripetal force. If m is the mass of the particle, now that centripetal force can be written as mv square over r. And this centripetal force, okay, the centripetal force is actually a name given to the net force towards the center. Okay, so centripetal force is the net force towards the center of the circle. Towards the center of the circle. Now that means if a particle has speed and it is going around a circle, that is only possible if there is net force towards the center of the circle. I think that should work as a clue for you to answer B part. So I think for the second part, I'll explain the second part. Okay, so I think you need a little more, let's say, conceptual understanding. But I think the first part can still be done. Okay, so if I look at the situation here, okay, so this is the, I have this XYZ plane and the cart is moving along x-axis with 4 meter per second square. And then this a person standing on the cart, let's say, he projects a stone. Okay, so in this plane, the YZ plane, uh, the velocity is 6 meter per second, and he projects at an angle of 30 degrees with the vertical. Okay, so that means parallel to the Z axis. Are you guys okay here?
Yes.
Now, so that means if I am only looking at the, let's say, YZ plane. Okay, so suppose if I worry about YZ plane. So I'm looking in this direction. Let's say I look in this direction. So this is Z and this is Y. The stone is projected at 6 meter per second. So this is 30 degrees. So now if I break this into two components, okay, so let's break that into two components. The horizontal component, that means the component along Y axis, would be 6 sine 30 degrees. And that is 6 into half. So that is 3 meter per second. Now vertical velocity is 6 cos 30 degrees. Sorry about that, that's cos. So cos 30 degrees is root 3 by 2. So we get this as 3 root 3 meter per second. Now we know that now this particle, I think, what is he saying? The question is a stone. Yeah, stone. Now this stone will have the x velocity as 4 meter per second, y velocity as 3 meter per second, and z velocity as 3 root 3 meter per second. Now out of these three velocities, only z velocity, z component varies because of acceleration. Only z component varies because we have acceleration only in the z direction. So the x component will not vary. Now we have to understand, okay, whenever you drop anything from a moving vehicle, that object will have the initial velocity of the vehicle. That's just inertia. Okay, are you guys with me? Okay, so that means this stone has 4 meter per second along x, 3 meter per second along y, and then it has this vertical velocity. Now, what else is the problem saying? Now, this stone is actually hitting the particle at its highest point. Now, if it is hitting at the highest point, I don't care about my vertical velocity, right? Vertical velocity will simply be 0. Are you guys with me? So that means what is really happening, if I forget this plane, the initial plane, now if there were no x velocity, it will be like moving along a parabolic path in this plane. Now let's say that is the highest point where z velocity becomes 0. But because it has x velocity also, as the stone moves up in the air, it is also moving in 3D. So that means the action is really taking place. The collision is taking place in some plane here. Are you guys with me? So some plane there, and then maybe I should draw a tree here, and then you get a branch there. I'm really bad at drawing, and then you have a string and there is a particle attached. You guys understand this?
Yeah.
I think what we can do here is I can just figure out the speed of the particle. Okay, so we understand the z component is 0. Okay, so now Vx, the x component is 4 meter per second. That is not going to change. Y component is 3 meter per second. That is not going to change. So with what speed is the stone hitting the particle? Now I don't
5.
really worry about what is going on. I'll just say that, okay, there is just a string attached and then you have a particle. Now the stone is hitting this with some velocity v. So now that velocity v is clearly, can I say square root of Vx square plus Vy square? I need to get the vector sum of
Yes.
this. Okay, Abhiram, are you okay?
Yeah.
So if I take the vector sum, I get 3 square plus 4 square. So the velocity with which the stone is hitting that object is 5 meter per second. Now, after hitting, what is happening? They're becoming one system. Let's say I'll draw it slightly separately. So you have, let's say, the mass is m and m. The system is becoming mass of 2m. Okay. Now, what is the velocity with which they will start moving? I
V
can
dash will be
conservation.
half of V.
I can use conservation of linear momentum here. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what do I do? Initial linear momentum is what? It's of only the stone, which is m into v, which is 5. The other object is at rest, so 0. And final linear momentum is they're moving together. So 2m into, let's say I'll get v prime. So these two are equal. So m into 5 is equal to 2m into v prime. So v prime comes out to be 2.5 meter per second. Okay, so are you guys okay? Now the stone starts with 2.5 meter per second. Now, when the when the string becomes horizontal, okay. Now, because it is constrained to move, I think you understand this, that the stone will move along a circle. That's a very bad circle. I don't know. This PowerPoint writing, somehow it spills ink. Okay, guys. Do you understand that it will go around a circle?
Yes.
Are you guys with me? Okay, so that is a circle of
Yeah.
L. Now, they're saying that the tension in the string becomes 0. Now, if tension becomes 0, because that is the only force you have towards the center of the circle. Okay, so if tension becomes 0, the velocity should become 0 here.
Yes.
Are you guys with me? If tension is 0, the speed is 0. Okay, now the last thing that you need to use here is energy conservation. Okay, now again, I will teach this when we discuss work power energy. Right now, understand that if you have a force which is at right angles to the movement of the particle, that force will not do work, because the way the force, the way the work done by a force is calculated is you have to have displacement in the direction of the force. So as the particle moves along this circle, every time the tension is towards the center. Okay, so work done by tension is 0. Work done by tension is 0. And another thing that I will teach you later on is the gravitational force does work, but it does not eat away any energy. Okay, so work done by tension is 0.
Okay.
Okay, now, but another thing, you can do one thing here. Uh, if you think about it, uh, if, let's say, I mean, if you believe that even when you have gravitational force, energy is not lost. Okay, so we can use something known as conservation of energy. I know, I mean, this is something that I did not teach you guys. So what this says is, initially the combined system has kinetic energy. Okay, so that kinetic energy is lost and they gain something known as potential energy. Potential energy gained. Now, what is the kinetic energy lost? I can write that as half. Kinetic energy by definition is half mv square. So you write half into 2m into v prime square. And the potential energy gained, I think again, this I will teach you, it is mgh. Abhiram, are you okay with the potential energy as mgh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the height gained is L here. So I can write M, which is again 2M here, into G into L. So from here, I think you see that L is just V prime square by 2G. Okay, so V prime is like 2.5 whole square by 2 into 9.8. So if you do the calculation, this comes at around 0.32 meters. Okay, so yeah, I think going forward, yeah, when we study circular motion, these ideas I will elaborate. When we study work power energy, you will easily understand this and this.
Okay.
So are you guys with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, how are we doing on time? So